Hello and welcome to the first proper video in the quadcopter building for beginners. Now this is actually series 8. There are 7 other quadcopter builds here on the channel. As I talked about in the introduction, the very first 2 builds I ever did, probably a couple of years ago now, were designed for beginners, and they went through each of the individual steps and talked about how it all worked and what to think about. In the intervening couple of years, the technology has moved on in leaps and bounds, and actually building a quadcopter these days is much simpler than it used to be. So this quadcopter building for beginners series is going to build a quad with the latest up-to-date components. And hopefully for those of you that have never built a quad before, it'll be interesting and you can kind of follow along and use the tips and tricks and the steps that I show in these videos to build your own and get flying. Or it might be that you've tried to build one, it didn't quite work, and you kind of want to follow along and see which bits you missed out or which steps were causing you the problem. In this particular video, I'm going to look at frame and frame decisions, and we're going to spend a bit of time looking at the Sköll 2 frame, which is what I've decided to use for this build. But I want to spend as much time as looking at the frame as talking about what you need to consider when you're going to buy a frame for your project. If you go back and watch the other quadcopter building series, whether they're for the beginners ones in the early days or the subsequent 4 or 5 that I've done, you'll notice that the frame designs have changed significantly as I've done each build. And I've tried to keep up to date with the most modern trends and designs. And back in the very early days, they were quite large, bulky, heavy things. The carbon fibre wasn't fantastic. There was a lot of cloning going around, typically 6-7 inch arms and like a H-style configuration. In fact, for those who have watched Quadcopter Building for Beginners Series 1, this will look very familiar. It's still here. I'm about to replace the motors and ESCs because it's actually quite a good knockabout because there's tons and tons of room. And back when this was around, it wasn't really a thing to try and make these quadcopters small and lightweight, and the racing phenomenon with quadcopters hadn't really started. If we move through some of the other builds that we've done, then here's one that has a KISS flight controller inside. This frame was one of the few that would actually fit the KISS flight controller and the carriage for the ESCs that went underneath. Again, it's that kind of H-style and pretty bulletproof. And then we start to get to the kind of frame types that were very common and popular about 18 months ago. And this is the X with what my neighbour calls the flying oil rig on the top, where you have all the components in one big tower with the cameras on the top. And these were very popular for a while, but seem to have fallen a little bit more out of vogue. Inside this one is the Brain FPV RE1 flight controller, and it's probably one of my favourite quads just for having a flying about. And then we can move up to some really pretty modern quadcopters. Here's the frame that we built out. This is the Bolt RC Kraken 5-inch frame, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's like a work of art. It's a clear polycarbonate shell, and all of the components that were spread out on all of those other pieces are all crammed down into a super small compact quadcopter specifically designed for racing. So it gives you the best chance to get through those air gates and have an awful lot of power to weight. And the last quadcopter that I built on the series was this one here. This is the Flynoceros Ether frame, 6-inch arms with 5-inch props, and it's got the 4K camera on the top. And again, everything is very compact and very small. And hopefully what you've noticed there is the level of sophistication with the frames has increased enormously over the past couple of years, and all the components are kind of shrinking into the middle. So let me talk about what it's useful to think about when you are looking at picking a frame for your project. The first thing you need to think about is, how do you actually want to fly the model? Do you want to fly it as a learning machine? So you want something that's going to be pretty bulletproof, that's cheap as chips, because when you break stuff, it's going to be easy to repair. Lots of room, so if you're not happy about crimping wires, you can just kind of bundle them up and cable tie them together. Do you want it as a freestyle acrobatic quad? Those kind of quads I tend to build these days with 6-inch arms and 5-inch props. That gives a little bit more leverage for the props out at the end of the arms. Or is it a racing quad, a really small, compact, super powerful quad with all of the components built like a Swiss watch crammed in the middle? Or do you want a long range or something like a camera ship? And a lot of this comes down to the prop size that you actually want to use. The vast majority of flyers these days are using 5-inch props, typically tri-props, sometimes bigger ones. And a lot of the decisions on the frame that you're going to pick come down to the type of props and the size of props that you want to use. Very, very common in kind of the 250, 280 class racing quads and the kind of freestyle quads as well is the use of 5-inch props. But 6-inch props are also out there, and you can create the same amount of lift to keep the quadcopter in the air with much less power being used if you use lower kV motors and much bigger props. So here's a video where I actually talked about that, and going from 7-inch props to 10-inch props saved a huge amount of energy. And that's why these big quadcopters that fly for a very long time, 20-30 minutes flight time, are usually running really big props and low kV motors, where the racing is all about 5-inch props with high kV motors. Now, some of the frames, and including the one we're about to look at, actually have the ability to decide on the length of arms that you want. And that's a great idea because you have the same pod in the middle, and then if you want 10-inch arms, 8-inch arms, 5-inch, 6-inch arms, you can just swap them out. But it's a really important thing to think about, and in the next video we're going to spend a bit of time looking at what to consider when you're thinking about getting a motor and prop combination and matching that to the ESCs. I'd always recommend picking a frame that has good reviews. Remember though, everyone has their own hobby horses, everyone has things that they love, everyone has vendors that they're not fond of. So in any forum, if you ask for opinion, you'll get very, very divided answers. But if you look on the websites and look at the reviews and ask around for your mates, you'll probably find that the consensus. I always try and use frames here on the channel that are good quality frames. The reason that my quads always fly at the end is I take a little bit of care picking all the components. And that's also a reason why the FPV stuff also works at the end. So if you follow along with the build, hopefully if you're using the same components, you'll get to the same endpoint as I do, and it will fly as well as mine. Do watch for clones. A lot of the very popular frames have been ripped off by China. They are available for an awful lot less money, and if you don't care about the quality of the carbon fibre and it's going to be a bit of a breeder quad and you expect to smash it up, then that's fine. But there are some higher end frames now, including this one from Flynoceros, where they offer some kind of warranty, and that means that if it does break in regular use, then you'll be able to get a replacement of the damaged component at a lower cost. Sometimes really cheap frames can be a false economy. I'd also make sure that when you're looking around for a frame, search for the spares for it too, to make sure that you can get hold of spare arms. You will crash an awful lot with quadcopters, particularly if you're a beginner. It's just part of learning to fly, and you need to be able to repair that damage. And the great thing about building your own quadcopter is if you do damage something, although it's a bit heartbreaking, you will be able to fix it because you've already built the model once. You know how it comes apart and how it's supposed to go back together. And the last comment I'll make is, if you do get a frame and you find it's not the one for you, or you decide that you buy a cheap and cheerful frame and it lets you down and you want to move up to a better frame, most of the frames, so long as you've got enough stretch in the ESCs and motors to get the motors onto the new frame that you're interested in, it's usually a pretty simple job to transfer all of the electronics from the old frame you don't like anymore onto the new frame that you are going to use. So let's go on to the frame that I've decided to use, and let me talk you through my thought process for this. This is quite a modular frame again. It offers 6-inch arms, 5-inch arms, and also 8-inch arms as well. I've actually gone for the 6-inch arms in here. Again, this is going to be kind of a freestyle quad, and freestyle quads, in my humble opinion, are better if they have slightly longer arms. You get more leverage in the props. I'm not bothered about trying to get through really small air gates or racing this thing, so that will be a good choice for me. I also like the hinge top. It's going to be useful for the video. When it's built, you can actually hinge the top forward by undoing just 2 screws at the back, and that means getting in to show connections or changes and things like that is going to be a piece of cake as well. It supports both 20 and 30mm flight controllers, so that will keep our options open there. And it's also got a really nice feature which the Etherframe had when we did the last series, where you can put the flight controller and bolt it into place, and the bolts that are used to hold the flight controller in place are not part of the structural pieces on the quad. So if you do need to change an arm, with this one it's only 2 screws, the whole arm will come off and you don't have to start undoing screws that are holding your flight controller, ESCs and other things in place. So let me just very quickly show you how to put this frame together. It isn't a particularly complicated frame. First thing to do is to take everything out the bags. I'd always recommend make sure that where you're going to build this is nice and clear, and I have this little magnetic tray that I keep all the bits in. It's worthwhile having one of these. It's amazing how easy it is to have a screw or a bolt or something roll off the desk and fall onto the floor, and then you are stuck. Only things you're going to need to put this together are a 2mm hex driver and either a pair of pliers or something to hold on to the little lock nuts, or I've got a little wrench here that I use an awful lot. You'll see me in a minute using electric screwdriver. I tend to use that a lot because I do a lot of building here. It saves me a ton of time. First thing to do is get the two bottom plates and to pop in the TPU mounts. Now these TPU mounts are slightly flexible, so all of the camera stuff is going to be vibration isolated away from the props. It also helps absorb some of the energy in the event of a crash. Once you've got those pieces in place, then each of the arms are held in place by the 8 longest bolts in the kit. Mine came in 2 little packs of 4, and you're just going to pop those through and do those up and work your way around. When it's all together, then the middle has this beautiful little cross, and the carbon fibre on these frames is absolutely beautiful. They're not the cheapest frames around, but blimey, they are well made, and everything just butts up and goes together beautifully. Next job, once you've got that done, is to slide in a couple of the anodized 5mm rods into those TPU mounts, because that is where that cage is going to mount onto. If you're really struggling to get it in, I find the edge of a desk or table is great just to kind of put your weight on it and it'll slide in. It's a snug fit, it's designed to be, but once it's in there, then that's great. Once you've got that done, then pop the other anodized spacers into one side of the cage. Once that's in place, then you can screw that side of the cage into those TPU mounts on the bottom part. And then you put in the top deck. And the top deck on this is very variable. You can mount it in lots of different ways. This is a frame that supports the Connex system as well as traditional FPV, another versatile feature, and it has 3 heights. The 3 heights in this go from 15 to 23mm, so we should easily be able to fit in any flight controller, ESC, VTX stack or whatever it is that we want to go in here. Pop in the little bracket at the back, which is going to be used to hold our FPV antenna, and then it's just a case of screwing the other side in place and the frame is done. Not a very complicated frame to make, but one that has an awful lot of versatility. There are some nice touches here. There are some holes actually in the TPU bits. These TPU pieces at the front and back that hold the roll cage in place have zip ties through them, and they are positions that you can use to mount components to as well. And the other TPU pieces in here, there are the 2 cheek pieces that go around the camera. They're designed to be a very snug fit, so the camera's only held in place with 1 screw, and the angle of the camera is just done with a friction fit of those compressible TPU pieces. And then there is this cage on the top designed for something like a GoPro session, and that again goes over those 2 spacers at the front and back, and also have slots in there as well, so if you want to cable tie it to the frame for safety, you can too. There are some extra pieces that I haven't got here for this frame. There's some nice TPU end bits for the arms. They're quite handy. It does protect the ends of the arms getting smashed and potentially delaminating if it's going to get bounced around a lot. They're kind of like bumpers, I guess, for the end of the arms. I'm not going to use them in this build. They also do things like different roll cages and also stickers, decals, I guess you call them, which they call skins, which you can make it look camouflage or whatever, but I'm going to keep it nice and basic because you know what, I like the look of really nice carbon fibre. It's kind of what I'm used to after building all these quadcopters. So now we've got our frame done, next job then is to go and have a look at the other components. So we'll have a look at the things to think about when you're choosing flight controllers, video transmitters and motors and props and ESCs, and then we can actually start building this thing out, and we'll go through it step by step. So even if you're not familiar with how all this stuff works, you should be able to follow along and get to the other end and have a flying quad. If you found that video useful or like the content, then please hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you want to go the extra step, you can become a Patreon of the Painless 360 channel and help provide support for what I do here. All the videos created here are put into playlists, so if you're interested in a particular topic, have a look at the playlist, and they all are organised in there to make them easier to use. If you're not sure if there's a video for your particular problem or topic you want to know more about, then add Painless 360 to the Google search term that you're interested in, and that should find the video, article or content about the particular thing that you're interested in having a look at.